Behind every successful fellowship is a program that not only equips fellows with practical skills, but builds confidence, community, and lasting connection. In this episode, I sit down with Julia Oduol, head of fellowship at Amahoro Coalition. And Julia has been part of the fellowship program since the very beginning. She's shaped the program and today tells us what it takes to build a program that builds entrepreneurs from displaced communities that really serves their needs and their unique perspectives. Julia, let's dive into this. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Zahirah.
Now, Julia, you've been with this program from the very beginning. Looking back, what has been one of the biggest lessons you've learned about designing a program that truly serves displaced communities?
That's a great question. I think for me, the biggest lesson has been that every fellow is different. And so being very intentional about building a program that really has high standards, but also takes into consideration the realities of these young leaders that are coming into the program, and also challenging them to grow, because one of the things that we want these fellows to do is to be able to grow their own leadership so that they can go out in the communities and also change them. So I think every cohort has actually shaped what the other cohort looks like, and that's one of the biggest lessons that we've had.
Now, you've completed 3 successful cohorts, and like you've just said, each one is completely different to the other. I mean, in a conversation we were having earlier, we talked about how there's unique attributes to the most recent cohorts. We shared stories about how we've sort of seen that change. But what do you see from cohort to cohort in terms of ambition, in terms of business goals, in terms of challenges that really help you then relook at what the next year brings?
Yeah, I think I've really seen a lot of evolution in terms of the fellows that we've seen. If I look at the cohort 4 that we have right now, the fellows are really very different in terms of the business ventures that they have, the number of impact that they have in their communities, and the people that they've actually impacted. And so I think one of the biggest evolution is that because we have an ecosystem, right now we have an ecosystem of 129 leaders, and they do a lot of collaborations and partnerships. So I think that's one of the biggest evolution that we've seen, where the leaders believe that they can't do it alone, but through partnerships and collaborations, they're actually able to reach out to more people, and they can be able to partner and actually do more things and scale up even as they do that. I think the other evolution is that we've seen a number of other sectors coming on board. For example, in our cohort 1, we did not have anybody who's in the agriculture sector. And so we've seen that there's a number of fellows that are coming up with climate-based ventures. And so I think the sectors are also increasing. And lastly, I think just the regional representation, where in this particular cohort, our 4th cohort, we have people from 15 different countries. And I think for me, that's also an evolution where in Africa, we have 54 countries. And so having representation in different countries, and that way we can be able to reach out to even more countries that can be part of this fellowship program.
I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball question, Julia. With 16 different countries, 15 different countries that we have in each cohort, the beauty of it is the growth and the cultural diversity. But how do you build a program that allows inclusion, consideration, impact and relevancy to such a variety of different cultures from the continent?
That's a great question. I think one of the things that we've seen is that the importance of us building a culture just around the experience that we give our fellows. So like I've mentioned before, our fellows are totally very different. And so you can imagine curating a program that actually meets every fellow's needs. And so I think a few of the things that we do is, as they join the program, we do a baseline survey really to understand where these fellows are starting from and what their needs are. Because I think, especially because they're coming from the displaced background, it's very important to be able to know their context and to really understand what that support could look like for them. And that's different for different fellows. So I think customizing a program that could really support them based on their realities and based on the needs that they have. And I think that has really positioned as well.
For someone listening to this for the first time, we talked about a fellowship program, we talked about inclusion, we talked about how you've built it. But what actually is the Amahoro Coalition Fellowship Program? What is it? If I sign up to it, what is the process from the time I see an ad for it on Facebook to the time I'm sitting in a room and onboarding like we have been this week?
Yeah, so the Amahoro Fellowship Program is a 12-month leadership program that targets exceptional leaders in Africa. And what we do, we provide them with resources and tools that can help them to be transformative leaders. The program is structured in different ways. So one of the things is that we have a curriculum that really supports them in terms of providing resources and just supporting them in what they need. We also have a funding element. One of the greatest gap, and the reason why we started the fellowship program is just that access to funding to people in the displacement space is quite limited. And so this funding element is just to support them so that they can be able to build their ventures, whether it's scaling up, whether it's opening other market access to people, etc. And so I think when you come into the program, there's quite a lot that you can expect. We do also have a mentorship program, and this is an opportunity for them to work with seasoned professionals that can support them in their journey. And lastly, I think one of the things that we speak about is the practicality of the program. There are so many fellowship programs out there, and I think what sets us apart is the uniqueness and the practicalities of giving experiential learning to our fellows. So it's not just about them going to a curriculum, reading and doing that, but really how do they take those practical learnings back into their ventures and doing assignments around that. And I think that really supports them well.
I think this is one of the programs that attracted me to working with Amahoro. It's just such a all-inclusive, holistic system really in place that allows for industry immersion, support, mentorship that you've mentioned. But if we were to focus on you, Julia, I've known you now for over a year and a half. You are so passionate about what you do. How did you end up here? Why are you working in this space? What does it mean to you?
That's actually a very personal question. So personally, I have lived experience of displacement. And I think when that happened to me, I knew that there was something that I needed to do to change where I was and to change even the perspective of how people look at people with lived experience. There's always that negative perception just around being a refugee or being somebody who's displaced. And I knew as a woman that I needed to see change. And I think that's where it began. I started volunteering for an organization that was working in communities, and I could see the injustice, like opportunities for people with lived experiences are very limited. And I knew that I wanted to work in that space because I wanted to see the change, and I believed that the change could start with me. So I started being this advocate for women and really wanting to see the women taking that confidence that they can be able to change their lives, because it was difficult. And so for me, being a part of the Amahoro Coalition and the work that we do in that space, seeing leaders emerging, for me, that's like life-changing. And so I think I continuously want to see leaders that come into the program, not just because it's a program or it's a good program, but really because it's transformational. They come into the program, most of them are not even sure of how they want to change their ventures, or they're not sure of even how to build. But I think this opportunity to see them, how they get out of the program so transformative, and they're able to go into their ventures and the changes that we've seen. I think right now, if I look at the 4 cohorts, we've seen that they've employed more than 2,400 people. And for me, that's like a win. So I think there are little things that I see in the program that really pushes me to even want more for these young leaders. And so, yeah, that's where my passion comes from.
Now, I think we know the strength of our program. We know the incredible leadership opportunities, job creation you've just mentioned. But for someone listening to this that has no prior experience with persons with displaced experience in life, Africa's got a lot of poor and needy individuals. We have a lot of youth. Why should people engage with communities with displaced experience?
Wow, that's a big question. I think anytime we think about the displaced space, there's always that negative framing that's there, that these are people that have left their homes and all that. Yet there's so much talent in these people. They bring so much. If I look at the fellowship program, the leaders that we work with are not just refugees. If you listen to them introducing themselves, they introduce themselves as business leaders, as founders, as directors. And I think for me, that's what they bring into the space. So they're just normal human beings. They're not anything exceptional from anybody else. But I think because they are building, they need to be given equal opportunities with everybody else, because that's what they deserve. And it's not just because they have, I think a lot of in the space, there's a lot of thinking just around handouts. Here's humanitarian aid, buy food, and that's it. But I think these leaders are very hungry to build. And so how can people rally around ground them to help them, because they need a platform where they can be able to access markets. They need a platform where they can have a voice. They need a platform where they can make decisions. And only if we believe in them and their talent, we can be able to provide that for them.
Working with the program, there's standout case studies across all the cohorts that we've seen so far that have really bowled me over in my time working with Amahoro. What are one or two, I know there's many you can choose from, but one or two real success stories, whether it's Ibe in Nigeria or Catherine with her hair products, that really stand out for you, that will highlight the benefits and the opportunity this program lends itself to?
You've mentioned that it's very difficult to single one out, because I've worked alongside the 129 fellows. But I think a few ones that I could mention is probably one like Esther, who's in Uganda. She started her business when she joined the fellowship program. She was working in a bookstore, but now she's actually running Afia Moms. And she started that because of the fellowship program. She used her stipend to produce her first products. And I think right now she's actually distributing to more than 10 supermarkets in Uganda. And I think for me, just seeing that transition from how they join the program and how they think about how they can improve themselves is always a winner. I think the other example that I can give is we've got Ibe, who's in Nigeria. I know you've mentioned Ibe. When Ibe joined the program, he's in the waste management. And right now he's one of the president of the alumni. And we always just showcase his story because he had employed around 45 people when he started the program. But right now he's employed more than 600 people. He's scaled up just from the funding that he has received. And one very, very specific example about Ibe was that when he joined the program, one of the things that he had mentioned was that he had approached the bank so that they can give him a loan or money to be able to invest back into his business. And they had denied him that opportunity. And only when he came into the fellowship program and he accessed the funding, now the bank actually is starting to call him so that he can be able to go for more funding. So I think this funding opportunity that the fellows have is also just to help them build their credibility, because out there's quite a lot of debt financing, etc. And only when you build that credibility, then it becomes easier for you to be able to access more funding. So I can speak about a number of other examples, but I think each fellow we've really seen the growth that they've had and also the impact that they continue to do.
Now, finally, Julia, to come back to where we are with fellows and our cohort 4 group, what do you hope everyone walks away with?
That's a big question. I think one of the things that I hope that the fellows will walk away with is one, that they will walk out with confidence, the confidence in the work that they are doing through their ventures, the confidence in the number of lives that they have impacted. But I think they can only do that if they have confidence in themselves. So I hope that they'll be able to go through the program and see who they are as leaders and what impact they can be able to do in their communities. I think the second one is that most of the fellows that join the program, sometimes they're very uncertain about what direction to take. Is it the right direction? And so there's a little bit of uncertainty with where they're at. And so how can the program ground them through the support structures that we provide so that they're able to really ground themselves and know this is a problem that I'm trying to solve and have clarity in what they're doing? Because once they have clarity, then it really becomes easier for them to understand this is the problem I'm solving and this is the support that I need to be able to do that. And I think lastly, just around private sector coming on board and really supporting us so that these are young people that are really yearning to have investment and people believing in the work that they are doing. So I don't think the fellows can do this alone, but I think having people rallying around them and really supporting them, whether it's through investments, whether it's through in-kind donations, and really holding them and walking this journey with them would really position them well.
And I think private sector, like you mentioned, is such a critical part of what we do at Amahoro, right? Like largest convener of private sector partners for our fellows and our communities, and we really need that support. Julia, your passion is always admirable. Thank you for talking to me today, and I'm really excited to see what comes out of our 4th cohort.